Cedric Maxwell Podcast.
Brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cedric Maxwell Podcast. This is John Zannis, pinch hitting as a co-host here with Max. What's up, Max?
I am doing just fine, man. It's sports world right now is absolutely going crazy. I'm just excited right now about the way the Celtics have played and the way the Lakers have just lost.
So we're going to get to the Lakers in a little bit too, because I don't understand. I know people root against the Lakers. What I've never understood, Max, is once they're gone, who's left to root against? Don't you want them to hang around longer so you can root against them for longer? No,
I don't want any mistakes that they go any further. I don't want to hear Michael Thompson. I don't want to hear James Worthy. I love, after looking at their podcast later after they lose, the way they start to make excuses for the team. And that's one of my favorite things. So no, I'm too excited about them losing and getting off the stage quickly.
All right, we're going to talk Lakers. We're going to talk Giannis. We're going to talk a lot of other things in and around the NBA. But we're going to start out with the Celtics, who just closed out the Orlando Magic. Before we get started with all of that, we'll let you know that this podcast is brought to you by Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, download that app, code CLNS, $20 off your first purchase. What time is it? It's game time.
Game time.
Game time. This podcast is part of the CLNS Media Network. You can, if you're watching it, that's great. Subscribe to the YouTube channel here. If you are listening to the podcast, please leave us a rating and review wherever it is that you get your podcast. Cedric Maxwell Podcast is here. So let's get into the Celtics thing. You just got back. Thankfully, you didn't have to go back to Orlando. The Celtics closed it out in 5. Your general impressions, Max, on, like, you can look at this. You can see how a team like Cleveland cruises. They win by 50-something points or whatever it is to close out Miami in 4 games. You see OKC take care of business in 4 games. Those are the top teams everybody's looking at. Celtics kind of sort of struggled a little bit with a team that people thought maybe they'd be able to handle more easily. Do you think the Celtics didn't play up to where they had to, or Orlando's just tough and you got to give them their credit?
I think Orlando makes it a dogfight. And
they make you bad. They make you look bad.
They will play ugly. They will foul you. They didn't let the Celtics get into a rhythm until the last game. And they're a good defensive team. They're going to, instead of you flurrying with punches, Orlando's going to grab you and hold like Muhammad Ali did back in the day, and then grab you and hold again. And that's what they did to the Celtics in most of the series.
Yeah. But so I'll ask the physicality thing, because you've got a lot of the old heads like you and maybe Gelso. I'm just kidding. But some of the other, some guys who played in a different era always talk about the physicality, and that's gone from the NBA. It's obvious that there was a memo sent out or something at the beginning of the playoffs, like, let them play a little bit. Which I there's good and bad things to it. I'm just curious, did you
John,
like
there's nothing good about it. When you talk about the way the game is played, call it continuously throughout the year. If it's a foul in the beginning of the year, let it be a foul now. That's all players want, is a certain amount of consistency on both ends of the floor. And especially if you talk these ticky-tack fouls, and now you're seeing guys get hit and whacked and knocked down, and they're looking at the referee like, where's the call at? And they're not making that call. The players will adjust, but again, I'm not a big fan of changing the rules or changing fouls in the middle of the season. I'm just not a big fan of that.
No, there's no question. And when the league does make adjustments, like with hand checking or with certain things that they allow or they call and they announce it in the offseason, fine. You're right. It's not only from the beginning of the year to now. It's in game where it gets really frustrating. You let somebody get mauled early and then a ticky-tack something, on your way to the basket, they call it later. The inconsistency in game is hard. I less mean about how just disorienting that has to be as a player. I more mean from a style perspective. Do you like that? You like to see them like the refs just let them play a little bit and let him get away with it. Because Orlando, to me, was pushing it to the point it was borderline annoying. The amount of grabbing on your way to the basket, they would foul 3, 4, 5 times. And, maybe that's how it used to be played. It definitely isn't now. Do you like that level of physicality as like a fan when you're watching it? You want to see him get after it like that?
It's kind of two-way street. For me, I like the physicality. But I understand it's a new league and the way things are being done. But you think about Detroit, the Detroit team we're looking at now playing the Knicks. They remind you, not just physical, but of the bad boys of that era where they would foul you not only 1 foul, but you get 2 or 3 fouls. And that, to me, that can be a little annoying. I believe the Celtics will adjust. And here's the thing about that, to the memo to the rest of the league, the Celtics can play your game and still beat you at your game. And they've done that with the entire league, except OKC, who's played them really well, and a team like the Clippers that played them well.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, with Orlando, there's too much of a talent deficiency, but deficit between the two. The Celtics are so much better that they'll eventually figure it out. But you're right. Against OKC, it's a little bit harder. Do you think they playing a team like Orlando in round 1 is a good exercise, so to speak, to toughen up a little bit? Where whatever you head into, even if you play, it doesn't matter. If you play another team that is physical, you're not going to run into one like that until the finals. If it's OKC, and if it's not, you're never going to see a team that plays you as tough as this on the defensive side.
Well, I think that you look at the way the game is played. There's a lot of different. The rhythm of the game is taken away sometimes. When you think about the fouls that occur, Tatum and Brown got a little frustrated, but they were composed enough to go out and take care of their business. Especially when you think about playing in Game 4. This Orlando team goes down and steals a game in Game 3. The Celtics have to come back and quell that fire, and they win that game there. Now they have to come back and play it again and win another one here to complete the task. So I don't mind the way the game is being played. I just want consistency on both ends of the floor, especially the defensive end, because the guys have just gotten too good, too fast, too strong to not make those calls and keep the game under control.
So who did you, from the Celtics side, again, you look at the way the series played out just on the individual performances. You lose Holiday for 3 straight games. Porzingis, he looked like he was really struggling with the physicality. He just didn't, he looked out of sort. It looked like it knocked him off his game a good bit. And then Brown is kind of, still trying to figure out what he's going to do or who he's going to be dealing with the knee thing. If you're going to point to 2 guys who kind of carried the load, obviously number 1 is Tatum. The second one has to be Al, right?
Yeah, Al has played really well. I don't know where the Celtics would be without Al. Porzingis has struggled a little bit, but Al Horford has been like the battery that you keep, or the extra gas tank that you keep in your car just in case your car runs out of gas. He's been that good consistently, knocking down shots, really just educating players. And that, to me, that's a real cool thing to do and say. And let's say it the way it is. LeBron James is older than Al Horford. He's out there playing all these minutes. So it's just, it defies logic right now, the way the game is being played.
Yeah, he's amazing. He was also, he was the toughness, that glue, let's keep it together, level-headed sort of guy as well. But then you saw in Game 5, he started when Porzingis, who's been struggling, he starts the second half, and along with Pritchard, and KP starts on the bench there. When Holiday comes back, is there a world in which you would envision Al jumping into that starting lineup instead of coming off the bench? Would you if you're coaching the Celtics, would you consider it, or do you just think, Porzingis wasn't good in this series, he'll be back, he's still Porzingis, and he's been playing great? Porzingis
has to get his reps, and eventually his shot is going to come back. I am not worried about that. It was just winning 4 games here because Orlando made it ugly and dirty for you. There's not another team, maybe Detroit, that plays that physical and that hard. But the way the game is being played, you have to understand all the nuances of it, the way they push guys around. You're not going to get these slap on the wrist calls. You have to have some blood coming out of some orifice before you start thinking like, what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And maybe I can save my life.
Did you like seeing a game like an entire series where the 3-pointer was de-emphasized a little bit? Because again, it's another knock on the league.
No. John, I loved it because I'm an old school player.
Right.
When I played during the time there were, minimal, guys taking threes. It was almost like it was window dressing, but nobody was going in the store to buy it. Then all of a sudden, Steph Curry comes in and he makes it completely different. The window and the consistency of the 3-point play has really bothered a lot of teams who haven't adjusted as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about this later, but it was just, it cracked me up because I was watching a Celtics City, a portion of it, and there's one announcer clip when Larry hits a 3 in the corner, and the announcer goes, "Wow, Larry Bird just hit a 3-point shot," like it was like the rarest thing that had ever happened.
Well, look, during the early 80s, those were rarities. Yeah. I played a game that regular season game. There were 5 3-pointers completed in the entire game. Yeah. I made one of them, and that was the only one I was ever going to make for my career. So guys are looking at it and they're trying to put their bodies, trying to put their stamp on it. But understand, man, this is the way the NBA plays. It's a rough game. Yeah.
It cracks me up. I mean, you go back and you look at stats, Larry being one of the most prolific shooters in the history of basketball, averaged fewer than 2 3-point attempts per game over the course of his career. So it's obviously different. It just cracked me up watching them overreact to a single 3. And again, the Celtics are being kept to 30 per game, and everyone's like, whoa, really low volume. Moving on about the series itself, do you care? Do you have like a preferred opponent, or forget the next round opponent? Everyone's kind of looking ahead to Cleveland. Like, Cleveland looked impressive, but there's still like a national media vibe that's like, it's the Celtics until somebody knocks them out.
Well, wasn't it last year? Wasn't it everybody else until the Celtics actually hoisted the trophy? You think about the series that they played against Dallas last year. In the beginning of last year, the playoffs, everybody picked Dallas to beat the Celtics because
they got bored
because they had the best 2 players in Luka and Kyrie. Turned out just the opposite. The young Bulls over there, the Browns, able to do his own thing, and Horford. So the whole table and the dynamics of the series changed by both teams right now trying to kind of filibuster a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, but it's again, when they get to the Cleveland matchup, assuming that's how it ends up, you don't want to look past the second round opponent. But are the Celtics in your mind still the team to beat, or is it Cleveland and they're chasing them?
Last time I checked the records, the Celtics had won the championship last.
But people don't think it. The Vegas odds have the Celtics. The Vegas odds have the Celtics the favorites, and a lot of the national media still Celtics. Are we again? You're a round away, and Cleveland's got Indiana, which is tough, and we'll talk about them in a little bit too. I don't even I don't think that's assured. But if they face those, a lot of people just assume it's Boston. A lot of national media types.
Yeah, the narrative last year in the Dallas series was that Kyrie and Luka were the best 2 players. Turned out just the opposite. It was Jaylen Brown and Tatum as the best 2 players. Right. So, I think it helps the Celtics, if that's possible, to fly just a little bit under the radar. And that, to me, that's the thing that's going to help my team, help this Celtic team advance if they go under the radar.
Yeah. What looking at the Celtics the way they're playing, does Jaylen look right to you?
He does now.
He does. He looks okay to you? Because he said last game, he said last game it took him a while to get loose. He didn't feel good in the beginning.
Initially, I think you think about the game. Was it game 4? The one that he scored all the, or was it game 4? Yeah, game 4 that he came back, had a great game. That to me, he looks good to me. He looks like he's moving well. He's running the floor. So I'm not going to say anything disparaging about Jaylen Brown, the way he comes to compete on every play. Sometimes, his zest to get towards the basket, he'll expose the ball too much to get knocked out of his hand. But for the most part, Jaylen has been consistently good in this situation.
Yeah. What about Tatum? I know I was in a pod over on CLNS Big 3 with Gary Washburn. We always use the expression top 5 Tatum, meaning when Tatum's got the shot falling, when Tatum's got the step back and all the whole game, the whole offensive game is flowing. That's when he's automatically in that top 5 conversation. I think he's in there regardless of whether shots falling because of the other stuff that he does. But it's always talking about like him, like Tatum always gets that rap of like how he plays relative to other superstars. You see even guys like Ant having these big games and these flashy moments and this and that. And I think people just
and you know what, John, let me stop you now, because and the reason I'm stopping you is because we've seen a different Jayson Tatum.
That's where I'm trying to get to.
We've seen the Jayson Tatum that, when I don't know what it is about the ball. When he gets in the jump ball, he has to have that ball, or he's getting in the middle of arguments where he was stepping away. To me, the beauty of this, and I've said this about the Celtics, when your best 2 players are demonstrative and go at it, and go at each other and go up the opposition, it says something about how they care, and others will follow as you go on.
Yeah, but you think he's leveled, like the intensity's there for sure. Do you think he's leveled up his game? Because I do. I mean, I say it on the Garden Report all the time, Max. Like, I think Tatum still has like a rung or 2 to climb, which he can get to in order to get his game to the peak level where it can be. And it involves a couple of things. One, shut up with the refs and just play the game. That's always been a small thing. Number 2, number two, like just a small diet of just get rid of a couple of bad shots a game and just play it as it lies. Take what the game gives you and just if in a certain game it calls for you to shoot 25, 27 times, do it. What another game calls for 10, 11 shots and just distributing the ball, do it. That last game, game 5, was a masterpiece. To score 35 points on 16 shots, get to the free throw line 14 times, and just the patience that he's playing with to wait for the thing to develop versus trying to force the issue. I always feel in the past, when Tatum needed to get things going, it would always be trying to force offense because he thought, I'm an offensive player. That's what I do. It just feels like he's grown up like a lot over this year.
Well, I think that winning the championship has taken a lot of the pressure off of him. Yeah, he's been consistently consistent this year in such a good way. I think early in the year, but you got to give him a break because he played in the Olympics, and how is he going to fare? Or turn around. Now, people scoff at that because they're saying, oh, my God, Jayson Tatum has been unreal, knocking down shots, completing errands. And, I'm going to be the bad cop. Right. I love it when Jayson Tatum gets in a scrum. Some guys I could care less to get in a scrum because, but when Jayson Tatum gets into a scrum, the rest of the players follow him. Yeah. And they follow Brown. I've said this, and I say it on my podcast again. Jayson Tatum is the drink. Jaylen Brown is the straw that stirs the drink. And I think that is as much information I can tell you. What do you mean by that? That Tatum is that complete package. But at the same time, you need a jolt of something. It's like, I'm sure, John, you don't do this and you don't let your kids do it, but Red Bull. that's who he'd be. Brown would be Red Bull right now. He gets into your system and you just go, whoa, I'm ready to do something, ready to do some damage. So I love what he's bringing to the table. And so there's going to be haters. They're going to be big. They're going to be bad. They're going to be ugly. They're going to be beautiful. But haters, the only reason haters can hate is that you're doing something positive. That's the only way they can hate. Haters don't hate the person just, sitting there. Haters hate the people who are doing something. So Jalen and Tatum should bring forces together and say, dude, no, I got your back. You got mine. Yeah.
What do you think? Like, again, we're leaping way, way, way ahead. If Tatum wins another or finishes it with 2-3 titles over the course of his career, I mean, where does he end up ranking among Celtics greats? Where is he today? If he stopped playing today with one title and everything he's done so far, what's his arc?
That's pretty good. But one title, I don't know. I think it'd be so incomplete because Jayson Tatum is gonna break all the scoring records. He's gonna be up there.
You come in at 19 and you're starting.
If I had a Mount Rushmore and Jayson Tatum, it was about the Celtics players. All right, you start out with Russell. Havlicek, got to put him in there. Tatum, is you put Tatum in if you have, there's only 4, but you only have another one to go. Do you go with, Paul Pierce or do you go with Jayson Tatum? Paul Pierce is an entity in his own. But we know what he's able to bring to the table, and we've seen
because Pierce only has one.
Yeah, he only has one. Yeah, I had to remind Jaylen Brown of that. He told me, "Yeah, you didn't get two MVPs. I got 2." I said, "Well, let me remind you something. I have 2 championship rings." He said, "Go one, big guy. Go one." So yeah, I think that if I was stopping today, which would be so unfortunate, I would have to put Jayson Tatum as one of the 5 best guards, 5 best players ever to play with the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, it might be there already.
And you laugh because Philly had the pick before the Celtics and took Markelle Fultz. And then LA, God knows they would love to have him. LA had their pick, Alonzo Ball.
Yeah.
And then
neither one of those guys even play basketball really anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, Tatum is free. So you took Tatum with a smile and a handshake, and hey, we'll see how you do with that young fella. And so that to me is a little crazy.
All right. Yeah. Nice little break for the Celtics. Then they head off and they're going to start their next series. If you want to get in on the action, and you want to check it out, Max gets to go because Max gets to call the game. I get to go because I get to email them and say, hey, guys, give me a credential, and they let me go, which is very cool. And I don't mean to brag about it, but yeah, we're lucky we get to do that. But if you're a fan and you want to get in the game and you have to find your way to get a ticket, you might need a little help. And Game Time is the place you need to go. You take
perfect place.
You take the guesswork completely out of buying tickets, and you go in there and you get your tickets with Game Time. Prices go down the closer you get to tip off, which is great. You have amazing last minute deals up to 60% off for not just this game. You want to go check out the Red Sox, a lot of concerts and musical acts coming in, comedy, doesn't matter. Game Time's got it all, and it's got you covered. As we said, up to 60% off last minute deals on these things, all in pricing. So you're going to get no hidden fees at checkout, plus the panoramic views from your seat function, so you know exactly what it looks like and what your view of the action is going to be like there. There's no place better than Game Time. So as we said, take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download that Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, download the Game Time app, code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. What time is it, Max?
Game time.
Game time. It's not game time for the Lakers anymore. They are donezo. They lost. I mean, look, I get it. Your smile to your face, and a lot of people, a lot of people wanted to see it. I never bought it. I didn't buy the Lakers hype post Luka. I didn't buy the defense that they were playing that was better. I didn't buy that this team without a center beyond Jackson Hayes could possibly, do much in the playoffs.
Who is Jackson Hayes?
I don't know. I might have made up.
He just disappeared.
I might have made up a name. I don't even know if that's his name.
I mean, they didn't even play. They didn't even play him. I mean, they were playing guys like yesterday. I mean, I think there was several guys who came in and came back, and I mean, you didn't even use Hayes in that situation, which was crazy. And Rudy Gobert gets 27 points and 25 rebounds or whatever he had, and the Lakers could. And I couldn't believe that. And I know great coaches are stubborn, but not stubborn to the point of not bringing a big in to at least see if he could slow down what the Stifle Tower was doing. And he was unreal. And the Lakers didn't have an answer. And it probably hurt too, the fact that LeBron James was playing center, essentially. Yeah. So you're down there wrestling with these guys. And at the end of the game, he had no legs. There were no legs at all. And that's why you saw him starting to shoot jump shots. He stopped going towards the rim. Everything was short arm. So he didn't have it. So part of that to me was JJ Redick and what he did. But man, I tell you what you see, and I've heard my boy Kendrick Perkins say this, and he might be right. Maybe Luka Doncic, maybe the worst defender we've seen as a superstar in this league. Super scorer. Yeah. He essentially almost like they do at the turnstiles. This way. Here you go. Go ahead. Yeah. And they charted and they looked at it. It said out of 10 plays, Luka got blown by 7 times. 7 times. That means there's no effort on the defensive end. And are people going to start saying right now, thank you, Nico. Thank you, Nico. Thank you, Nico.
It's one of the rare cases of a lose-lose trade, right? Because both teams ended up worse like today because, AD gets hurt. Mavs have a spate of injuries. Everything goes to shit. Doesn't matter. It might have worked for Dallas this year. Long run, it was going to be a bad trade because you just gave up too good of an asset. But it doesn't change the fact Dallas was right in its reasoning for getting rid of Luka. Like,
wait a minute. You're saying you gave up the right assets because a lot of people keep using the same thing over and over again, saying the Lakers could have gotten more.
Anything.
They could have gotten more from Dallas. They could have asked
from anybody.
I think Dallas got a great haul.
No. I'm sorry. Dallas
got what they wanted.
No, Dallas. If you shop Luka, they should have come away with this with about 7 first-round picks and good players. They got fleeced.
No, they didn't, John. No,
by doing this. No, are you kidding me?
No, I am. I'm not kidding you because they got the player they wanted. They got the player they want. They got one of the best players in the league, and they got a defense. And on top of that, how about this one? You say that, but you also talk about the $300 million that you're going to have to pay if you were Dallas, and you take up a contract of Anthony Davis. I think the Dallas, to me, is a much better basketball club. If they were healthy, obviously, they're hurt, but with Kyrie Irving and playing along with Davis, to me, I think that I think they got enough. Everybody said, "Well, how many picks do you want?" I think I know why you're saying this. You're saying this because of what happened with
I'm saying it because it's right.
Because you're saying it because of what happened with Mikal Bridges. Bridges, he comes from. And boy, how's that looking right now? The New York Knicks gave up 4 first-round draft choices for Mikal Bridges. Sometimes people don't do the smartest things, John.
But it's Harden, it's Paul George, it's all of those things. You've seen it time and again. The superstar And the guy who's in his prime, again, we're not going to say athletic prime because we saw what Luka looked like, but he's in his age prime at 25 years old, considered a top 3 level player in the league. You never see somebody get traded like that. It should have been a bigger haul, but besides the point, both teams ended up in hell this year. Dallas doesn't make it anywhere, and the Lakers go out in round 1. Now, JJ Redick, not after the game. JJ Redick today says, and again, didn't name names, but he flat out said, we're going to have
to be in better shape.
In championship shape next year. I wonder who he's talking to. I don't think he's talking to the 40-year-old guy who's defying logic and age and any expectation by being out there playing 40 minutes a night. Those are daggers pointed right at Luka Doncic. Like, this is that moment. And Max, you played, okay? You know this. You understand. Like, you come in, you're 20, 21, 22, 23, you could do whatever. You can go out every night, party till 4 a.m, get up the next day and still be spry and springy. Yeah. And then there's got to be a tipping point. At a certain point, it starts to get a little harder and a little harder. You can't play out of shape. You can't play. Luka Doncic, honestly, disrespectful to be in that kind of physical condition and take people's money and go out there and play. Like, you owe it. This is your job. You owe it to yourself and to everybody, the franchise, the fans, to just make sure that you're in good enough shape to be able to get out there and compete. I'm embarrassed for him.
I remember Larry Bird taking one of those chances where all of a sudden he started running. He was in the Boston Marathon. He's running before running around the arena. That to me was pretty amazing for a guy who was like Larry, but who was a beer drinker, who smoked cigarettes. I'm not sure if Luka isn't far behind that. Right. And what he is, he's not everybody's like, is he the modern day Larry when it comes to, being that way? But Larry took on another stance of being physically in shape for basketball and basketball shape. I never saw Larry in a position of him getting tired. You can look at Luka right now, did not have any legs. Look at LeBron right now at 40 plus, did not have any legs. And for JJ Redick to talk about his players, I understand that. But shouldn't you just, I don't even know. Why don't you just call it? Why don't you just call it who it is? Say Luka has to get in better shape. That's what you're talking about. And then you put the onus on him. You don't have to think about it. He wasn't talking no. We know we kind of know who he's talking about. But if you said Luka has to get in better shape, he's going to be our star, and we're going to ride him. Use his name. Why are you afraid to use his name?
I do wonder.
Why are you talking in code?
Yeah. Look, maybe there's another person or two out there that he doesn't feel is up to snuff.
There is not. Nobody cared about. You can't even name the person. You can't even think about a person on their bench right now. You know exactly who he was talking about. Say his name. Say his name.
Yeah. I do wonder, is there going to be...
And then you eliminate the possibility of, maybe he wasn't talking to me. No, Luka has to get in better shape.
That's why.
Look, how about this? Even Charles Barkley said, "Hey, you know what? Luka has to get in shape." Yeah, that the pot called him the kettle black. I mean, even Charles Barkley says it. And Charles Barkley did say one thing which was really cool, and he talked about an old school player. He said Moses Malone. He said one of his favorite players, one of his mentors, came to him one day and said, "You're fat and you're out of shape." And he had tears. He said he cried, but he said every day what Moses did was went and grabbed him and said, "Okay, Charles, we're going to do this. We're going to run. We're going to get in shape." And that's when you saw the emergence of Charles Barkley as a player. He just took off. He wasn't the round mound anymore. He was stealth. He played hard. And, he was more muscle than he was fat.
Yeah, I do wonder if they, if you almost have like a Zion Williamson sort of fat clause in his next contract, or something, because again,
does he have a next contract? Because he just signed one.
Yeah,
And
he's
so
got
I don't even know where do you go at with that. I mean, that is you're right. It's a responsibility of the player. It's
Yeah.
a responsibility of the coach. It's a responsibility of the player
Yeah.
for it to go like that. Even in Celtics the City, as they did on HBO, I love the fact when Rick Pitino left Chris Wallace a note, who was the general manager of the Celtics, and said, "You got to lose this much weight if you're going to be around
Yeah.
this player." How
Yeah.
is that viewed now? Any place?
Yeah.
Isn't that? I don't know what. How can you bring that to any office these days? Any office without getting your ass
Yeah.
sued?
No, Luka's got. I mean, this is different, but Luka's got. He's got a player option after next year, so we'll see how that goes. But he's tied to the Lakers at least through next season, and who knows what happens there? I mean, they're the Lakers. People want to play there. They
Is
could pull off.
LeBron tied? How about let me ask you this: is he
So
tied to the Lakers?
Well, so that's what I want to get at is I don't know where you are on the LeBron. I close my ears every time LeBron comes up in the office because I don't want to hear Nick talk about it. So I just because it's a vendetta and it bores me. But I fall on the side of, like, I know he does things that make him not easy to like for everybody. And I understand
Like
why
what?
some people
You know what?
might
Hey,
not.
stop right there.
No.
Like what?
Let me get all the way through it. Let me get
No,
all the
no,
way
like
through
what?
it.
Stop right there. Tell me one
Meaning,
thing that LeBron does
I
that irritates people.
not me. I understand why behaviorally the way that he acts, the way that he carries himself sometimes might irk some people because it seems like it's a show. It's always the LeBron show. Personally, I've been the biggest LeBron stan you could imagine since high school. Like I marveled at him then. I marvel at him now. I personally, Max, think the rhetoric surrounding LeBron James, people are sitting here pissing and moaning about the dumbest stuff and failing to recognize that we're seeing something we will never see in the history of sports again. And it drives me insane. You live in this beautiful house and you're complaining about like a loose rail on the stair. Like he's almost, you can't do what he's doing in this sport at this age. And it's not, I don't want to compare to Tom Brady either. Brady played a position that was less physically taxing. Professional basketball with these elite athletes, you lose a step and you're done. And he's doing it up until the age of 40. He's putting up career averages, 26, 8, and 7 at 40 years old is insane. And people are missing it. So why? Everyone's immediately going to point fingers at LeBron. I mean, Luka's an easy target too because he was out of shape and this and that. But it's going to be like, oh, LeBron couldn't carry him again. Obviously, you're not one of those people.
No, I'm not one of those people, except the fact I look at LeBron and his son. And I had this conversation with my brother-in-law, and he was like, I really, really, think the world of what LeBron did in bringing Bronny on. I really admire that. And I said, I admire it, but I'm disappointed at the same time. And disappointed because I think for him to bring his son on in the NBA, that was remarkable. But now to see where his son is going to fit in the NBA for the rest of his career, where does that stand? I mean, that to me is like that kid is playing a no-win situation. There's no way to win.
Yeah, but didn't LeBron make it that way?
His talent level isn't as good. And that's what really bothers a lot of people, because if he was as talented as he said he was, he couldn't get 1 minute.
No, but that's the point. That's one of the things people don't like about LeBron is that was manufactured. Like when Griffey Sr. plays with his son, Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. is one of the best baseball players who's ever lived. The kid earned it. That was a natural, organic moment where Sr. hung on long enough and the next phenom comes in and they shared a moment together. LeBron manufactured this for this, moment that he wanted to experience. And Bronny didn't deserve it. I think he did the kid a disservice. Let the kid carve out his own path and then figure it out. Take the pressure off him. And that created a lot of shit this year. Obviously, he's battling with Stephen A over that stuff, and it became an issue. It became a distraction, I think, because it was a sideshow. That's the kind of stuff that hurts him, rather than people focusing on this guy's an athletic marvel. We should be celebrating every single minute that he continues doing what he's doing, because we'll never see it again.
I think that in LeBron's case, he's always going to fight a no-win battle. And the no-win battle, because people are always going to compare him to Michael. And there's no way to compare as great as LeBron's done, his longevity, more points than anybody else. Just all the stuff he's done. Unbelievable, magnificent. But she's always going to be compared to what the great Michael Jordan did. And it's unfair. I realize it. It's totally unfair, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles here. You know, nobody wants to say, and I've said it time and time again, I think he's the greatest thing maybe to ever play the game, considered the longevity of his career and what he's done and all that. But people will not let go of the rope when it comes to Michael Jordan incomparably. And I think one of the things I look at and I laugh is like, somebody was talking and we were talking about Juanita Jordan, Michael Jordan's ex-wife. So just say you wanted to go and you wanted to date her. What kind of shoes are you going to wear when you get there? Everybody's wearing Jordans. So you can't go to the man's house. What you going to wear? Clogs? I mean, what the hell you going to wear? But yeah. That's what I'm saying when the comparison that he's going to be under. And Michael Jordan hadn't played. Michael Jordan, I'm not sure. He got swept early in his career. LeBron James had never got swept. In 21, 22, whatever years it's been, he's been that surreal and had his team focused and playing hard and playing well. And how can you even be, let's say he's in the top 10 NBA players right now, 40 plus years old, he's still able to I just remember when I was 33 and I wasn't one of the top 10, whatever, nothing player, whatever. But at 33 years old, you could stick a fork in me. I was done. I had nothing. And most guys I know could say the same thing. Had nothing in the tank. LeBron James is still playing at an elite level. Is he one of the top 10 players in the NBA? How far are you going to go down before you don't take it? Where are you going to go?
Yeah, it's crazy. Now he's playing his game again of like, I don't know what I'm going to do next year. We'll see. I mean, again, that's the other stuff with LeBron being a little bit dramatic and drawing it out. I mean, all of this stuff stems from, look, you know the stories. He was a bit of an a-hole in the early going. You had those Olympic, moments and situations where he kind of had built himself a bad reputation. He does the whole decision thing. There's always been like the theatrics and this stuff, and this histrionics surrounding LeBron. And I guess that's one of the things that we go again with, like, I don't know what my future holds and yada, yada. You see any world in which he doesn't return to the Lakers next year?
I don't. I think he comes back to the Lakers. He's not going anyplace else to chase a ring. He's invested too many things in Hollywood, from his movies to appearances to all the stuff. So no, I see him as that. And it's really weird because there's all this stuff about LeBron James. And what do we really hate? What do we really? He has been a model citizen.
I don't care. I like I said, you're not talking to me.
No, I'm not
LeBron.
talking to you, but I'm talking to the general public.
Yeah.
He's been a model citizen. He's played the game. He's won multiple championships. He went back to Cleveland. This was for you. He went back to Cleveland and won a championship. He decided to go to LA. He wins the championship there. He's just surreal when I think about him. And that's why I guess I'm not the hater, but I guess you're still talking about all the nuances which are surrounding him, which have kind of taken away from some of the shine. But even with that, look what he's done also in Akron to build a school, to educate kids who are there. He didn't have a father figure. He is an educated young man, a young entrepreneur. He's a multi-billionaire now. And this came from a single parent home. And the story just go on and on about the way he's given a contribution to all these things around him. So it's almost a travesty. I think that he will never get the credit, but he'll get more of the blame than he will the credit.
Yeah, he's never going to. Ever seen anybody who's clearly, at worst, consensus view, the second best to ever do something, get as much hate as LeBron James gets, which is crazy to me because he's been number 2 to Michael probably for the last 10 years. And fine, he can't clear that final hurdle in some people's eyes. At worst, he's the second best player who's ever played the sport. At worst, So
that's not a bad place to be. I mean, I read about people who tell me, and they talk about when I talk about Larry Bird, and they say I don't give him enough credit. And I've always said Larry Bird is one of the greatest players ever to play the game. And then people say you're jealous of where he's at and what Larry did. I'm not. I applaud what Larry did as a player. I won multiple championships with him. And I wasn't a bus rider. I was a bus driver. And I look at the Celtics City thing, and I'm like, man, I sure didn't get the kind of credit that I probably deserve. But a lot of people are saying, get over it. Get over it. And I'm not. I'm gonna be petty. And if there's one thing you can talk about yourself, and these are just facts. There have only been 36 guys or 37 guys in the history of the NBA who've been finals MVPs. And damn it, I'm one of them. I've said that multiple times. To win 2 championships and to win it with the great Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish. And even when this team got beat in 1985 and I was hurt, you look at the Celtics City thing, what did they talk about? My inability to come back from injury. I was hurt. But did you need me when you already had 4 guys who were the top 75 players of all time? What does it say about me?